My name's Paul, welcome to Paul Perambulates. In this episode I'm in the north of England, in the Lake District at Wasdale, climbing Yewbarrow. My start point is the Wasdale Head Inn, postcode CA201EX, grid reference NY18690869, what 3 words, blockage, squeezed, eminent. I set off down Wasdale alongside Wast Water until it meets Over Beck. Then I turn north, walking and scrambling up through Dropping Crag, Great Door and Bull Crag to the top of Yewbarrow. Dropping down from there, I take the path along the western side of Yewbarrow, following Over Beck, returning to the point where it meets Wast Water. I then walk northwards, back up Wasdale, admiring the Scafells, Great Gable and Kirk Fell, returning to the Wasdale Head Inn. Total distance 11.9 kilometres. Total height gain 630 metres. Total walking time 4 hours and 4 minutes. This is the Wasdale Head Inn. The inn is reputedly the birthplace of British rock climbing. The poet, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, is known to have ascended nearby Scafells Pike in 1802, but it wasn't until late Victorian times, the last 2 decades of the 19th century, that it began to become popular. This is where wealthy adventurers came to stay. One of the inn's earliest proprietors was one Will Ritson, who still has a bar named after him. He was the self-proclaimed world's biggest liar, although I'm not sure if I believe that. Out the back of the inn, picnic tables next to a rushing brook. Where would be better to eat your lunch than this? Just across the road, the inn has a campsite, and that's where I'm staying. There is nowhere else in England where geology has wreaked such havoc. This is Wast Water, England's deepest lake. And on the other side of it, Scafells Pike, England's highest mountain. And in front of it, its little brother, Scafells. This is Over Beck car park. Pay and display, no gates, no overnight sleeping. There's about 20 spaces, so you might want to get in early. I've walked down here from the campsite alongside the lake, but if you wanted to take that bit out, this would be the place to start and finish. The path up to Yewbarrow goes off the end of it there. It offers you an opportunity to make a donation to the National Trust to help with the upkeep of the environment and the wildlife, and that's obviously well worth doing. Starting the ascent up Yewbarrow now, with the rather fearsome looking Dropping Crag in front of me. It's extremely steep. I also seem to be herding sheep. Nearing the top of Dropping Crag, a very, very steep scramble. My long battle to get up on the ridge is suddenly rewarded with this. This has to be Great Door, where the view suddenly opens up spectacularly onto the other side. Almost up on the end of the ridge now. Unfortunately the weather's closing in, but the view is becoming steadily more amazing. An example of the exposure, long way down that side, long way down that side. Top of Yewbarrow, 627 metres. Not one of the biggest ones around here, but probably one of the hardest ones to get up. Looking east from Yewbarrow, you see the Scafells, Great Gable, Kirkfell. Got myself a cracking spot for lunch, looking at all the beautiful crags on Red Pike opposite. And here are those crags. That way we can see just about Low Tarn, and in the background, obscured by cloud, Haycock. Going the other way, again obscured by cloud, Little Scout, Fell and Pillar. I'm taking what is nominally the easiest path down, still very steep, rocky, crossed by scree gullies like this. I'm very thankful for my walking poles. Back safely down in the valley now. That path down wasn't too bad, took a bit of negotiating, but with a bit of care all safely achieved. So stopping off here for a nice coffee, and even down here, nice views. Lots of stuff to look around and see. Looking up at the side of Yewbarrow as I pass, very steep, very craggy, very few passable ways up there. Valley path is quite rough. It's been wet today, so a bit damp in areas, lots of big rocks and stuff. But reasonably flat, not that windy, quite direct. Certainly nowhere near the hardest part of this route. Coming over a little spur down into the valley, Wast Water in all its glory. I'm passing back below Dropping Crag now, which I climbed this morning. Looked scary then, still looks scary now. Looking the other way, fabulous view of Wast Water and looking all the way out to the Irish Sea. On the last part of the descent, it's an idyllic scene. Over Beck, making that beautiful rushing water sound, and beautiful late evening sunshine. Couldn't see it very well this morning, certainly can now. Scafells pike, Lakeland's highest, England's highest, flanked by Lingmail on the left and Scafells on the right. In the foreground, of course, and lapping gently in front of me, Wast Water. Coming back up to the top end of Wasdale, looking up at another two of Lakeland's finest. Kirkfell on the left, Great Gable on the right. I'm going to have to hold my hands up and admit that I completely underestimated Yewbarrow. The original plan was to also bag red pike and maybe a couple of the Wainwrights in behind it, but in the end Yewbarrow was enough for me for one day, particularly as I went up the southern end through Dropping Crag. There's some quite hairy scrambling there and it's a bit airy in places. I went up a couple of blind alleys because the navigation in that sort of terrain is difficult, and it was a little bit worrying in places. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, it will be right up your street. I don't actually have any footage of me doing the particularly difficult scrambling bits because it's simply not safe to film yourself when you should be concentrating on where you're putting your hands and feet. So that kind of gives you some idea how difficult it was. I bumped into some people up there who told me, and they were quite experienced, that Yewbarrow is one of the most difficult places to get to in the lakes, particularly by that route, and I'm inclined to agree. The route by which I came down, much easier, and if you just want to tick Yewbarrow off and don't want to take on that scramble, I would recommend going up and down by that route. Difficulty wise, I'm giving that an 8, not because I walked a long way or because it was particularly physically demanding, simply because of the difficulty of that scramble. So if that kind of thing is your bag, go and give it a go. All maps and 3D fly-throughs provided by kind permission of Ordnance Survey through their excellent OS Online application. Big thanks also for all music used in this video to mixkit.co and pixabay.com. Specific song and artist credits can be found in the comments. These videos are designed to show you around the routes I walk in case you're considering doing them yourself. They are not designed to be any kind of hill walking training or guidance. If If you need hill walking skills, obtain them in person from a reputable, qualified provider. Please don't attempt these walks without appropriate levels of fitness and equipment. If you don't have the required levels of knowledge and experience, only undertake them accompanied by somebody who does. You can find out more about me and my background and experience at my website, paulperambulates.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Paul Perambulates. If you did, please subscribe and share.